recording.
Cool.
Chat 4.
Yes. Number 4.
Of how many?
That's a good question. I mean, what's the end number? What's the big number going to be?
Yeah, how many times are we going to do this?
I don't know.
100, 200?
I guess until, conversation runs dry. But
Whoa. So here's the problem. I could talk about Ethereum forever.
I had the feeling.
I don't have an end. There's no like, oh, that's it. Like I don't know everything, but I have little pockets of knowledge over like 50,000 different areas of it. So yeah.
Well, in my younger days, I aspired to have a talk show, although it was oriented a little bit more like late night with David Letterman or something in that regard. But I love interviewing, and I love when somebody could satisfy curiosities and whatnot. So I am up for the challenge of seeing where this can go.
Jeremiah, I am so broken, dude. There's this guy called Jeremiah JT Nickel, and he works for this company called Grid Plus. He didn't always. He used to be a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
He used to be an elementary music teacher.
Groovy.
And then he decided, like the rest of us, to work in crypto. And he gives me guidance about my camera, but right now I am not satisfied. So yeah, Jeremiah is, I guess you'd call him like the lead moderator of ETH Finance, which is a place that I spend a good bit of time.
Cool. Is that the Reddit, the subreddit you mentioned?
Yes.
That's back. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. What are we doing today?
Well, I could lay a little groundwork and let you go from there. But to circle back to sort of what my particular situation is, as you just mentioned, I have decided to see what other options professionally beyond teaching after 16 years. I want to look up from keeping my nose to the grindstone and see what is going on. And the first and particular thing that's caught my eye is instructional design, which translates a lot of teacher skills into a corporate setting, but your learner, your target audience has changed. A lot of the jargon has changed, but there's still a lot of overlap skill set wise. And I'm in the middle of a boot camp, and one of the things that has been brought to my attention is the assembly of a portfolio and the assembly of materials showing that you know how to function with some fluency in the world of apps and jargon that this profession entails. And I would be excited if you would be to take some of this information and this sort of paradigm we're going through of an understanding of Ethereum for the novice and translate that into some materials that I can use to build a portfolio and build some materials that people can use and profit from. So today, I was going to propose that we do sort of a plan, figure out what, we equated it to like an objective. What do we want? What is it that we would like people to be able to do? And to give us some parameters, I had a couple of suggestions. So I've been talking to a couple of friends about our chats, and one of my friends yesterday asked me, he's like, man, I got $100. What do I do? I was like, I don't know the best answer to that. And I think it's more than just dump. I think there are more options than just dump it on Coinbase. Maybe there are. I don't know. But what I sort of wanted to use that as a guiding scenario. And then I wanted to provide the framework of if there were going to be 5 lessons to break a mini crash course into 5 lessons or 5 topics, what are the 5 things that we could talk about, or 5 things that we would want people to know? And I'm going to be typing while you talk. Well, I guess you're going to be recording it. I can type it when I listen to it again later. But that's sort of where I'm at. What do you think?
I love it. Yeah. So I love the idea of your instructional design course. I'm curious, is the bootcamp online or is it in person?
It is on. It's Zoom, or no? Okay. It's, you know what? It's Facebook Live, and then they have Q&A, like social, informal stuff on Zoom afterwards for about an hour. But I have an advisor who's very helpful, who I've talked to about these chats, and she's excited to help me format the materials to whatever really we would like to do. And since I need a portfolio and I need to familiarize myself with this new software, I'm ready to sink my teeth into, and you know, and you love to talk, so this is like a perfect marriage.
Yeah. So I have a bunch of thoughts. I don't think of what I do as corporate at all. The idea of corporate work makes me want to puke all over myself. It is often like dry and boring, and if there's any fun to it, it is forced fun, and I don't do forced fun. So
well, what this would have in common would be adult learners, and modifying learning theory from young people, what I'm used to, and targeting it towards more adult learners. And the medium of instruction would be the same, because the resources, you know, a computer with internet access, and the motivation to study it independently rather than as a class, everybody there at the same time.
Do you know what's the most exciting to me? The most exciting group to me are 16 to 22-year-olds.
Okay.
These are the people,
late adolescents.
Yep. Like they're still in high school. They don't know what they're doing with their lives. They see, in many cases, the world going to shit. Hold on. I think I like made something play. I legit have a dude talking in my ear. There he is. Got it. Okay. So
you may need to see a therapist about that.
Liza's doing great. Good lady. Anyway, I'm gonna now text her that I gave her a shout out on my recording. The target audience are these, for me, and this is not Ethereum, because you know, from every component of Ethereum you're going to find a different target group. But 16 to 22-year-olds are people who are currently like looking for something to do with a future. They often have like this sense of purpose, or feeling that they've been shafted by the world, by like previous economic policies, by poor environmental practices, by poor work practices by employers. And so they are the people who, in my mind, have the most to learn and contribute to learning about Ethereum, to learning about smart contract platforms, to applying those principles now so that they can reap the benefits in the long run. So yeah, let's think about, and the flip side of it is, I don't see a lot of that group here. Most of the group that we see here are 25 to 30-year-olds, people who have some disposable income, people who are looking for an investment. Young professionals. And I'm more interested in not in investors, but people who are willing to be a part of a movement. Like, I think of this more as a movement than any kind of investment scheme. So yeah,
I get that, and I don't know if today's the day to have that discussion, but I would love to tease out a little bit how those, you know, don't overlap.
That was just, we don't have to do it, but that was just my idea of target audience. But you can take it wherever you want. Your target audience is whoever you want to get.
Well, I like the idea of of the 25 to 30-year-olds just because it's a point of differentiation from where I'm at. But either one of those is fine. Are there any other particular descriptors other than age in defining who the audience is, like level of education, maybe, or interests, or socioeconomic status?
Yeah. So I would say,
regional.
yeah, I would be, I think a one target are people who are kind of innately dissatisfied with business as usual.
Mm-hmm.
People maybe who are frustrated with capitalism,
Okay.
or people who don't have access to banking where they live, but we're not going to connect with those people easily. That's what I would consider a bridge too far right now. Like, how if people don't have banking, they also aren't on YouTube, or maybe they are on YouTube, but they don't have like many of the requisite tools to make that connection. And so things are going to have to grow and expand before we're actually reaching those people.
So seeking some degree of social change, somebody dissatisfied with the status quo who is looking for an opportunity for social change.
Well, here's what kind of sucks. And I'll acknowledge my interest in Ethereum is not similar to many people who get interested in Ethereum. Many people who get interested are people who watch charts and tickers and want to get rich. And
Right.
so they're saying, I have $100, where do I put it? And I'm saying, if you invest some time into learning how this works, your life is going to be enriched, and you're going to find cooler ways to do things.
Okay.
But you know what? I'm very able to address those. I have $100, where do I put it? People, I can talk to investors. It's just not my favorite. Like, it doesn't excite me, because
Okay.
we don't have a shortage of money. We have a shortage of ethos.
So what could we break the ethos into components? Like, if the equivalent to like a week-long 5 micro lessons, or a week-long Ethereum boot camp that may be dealt in theory rather than investment practices, or where
The flip side of that is, it's also much easier, even for me, to talk about investment practices, because I've talked to investors for so long. Like, when you ask, when you say, oh, I have $100, what to do with it? I have like 8 ideas in my mind. I'm like, you can do this, 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 or this, but don't do this because of this.
we can use that as the guiding question. I just want you to, from where I'm coming from, you have the designer, but then you have a content expert. And I am only the designer or the esthetician. So honestly, where you would be comfortable going with the curriculum, I would be comfortable going with the curriculum.
Yeah. So one of the things I would probably want to do is we would. So I imagine you have $100. I'm going to say, well, we want to install MetaMask. We want to learn to interact with a contract. You're going to need to go to an exchange, like Coinbase or Kraken, and link your bank and buy stuff. And then we're going to take that and we're going to transfer it to a browser wallet like MetaMask or Frame.
This is great. This is a chronology. This would work in a sequence of because it progresses with previously learned material.
We're going to get an ENS address to identify that wallet. We're going to want to earn some POAPs to show richness in the wallet. We're going to want to get a Gitcoin passport to show that we're a real person. Then we're going to want to engage in the well, right now the big thing is the 4844 KZG ceremony, where like by participating in that, you kind of show that you're a real person. But we can't do that because you would have to have a historical wallet. Anyway, so you're going to want to get a POAP. You're going to want to learn about
a real
staking.
Person, as opposed to like some sort of computer program, or
my friend Sybil. We'll talk a lot about my friend Sybil. And so there's a class of attacks called Sybil attacks. And the idea is one person ideally represents one person. But in a Sybil attack, I would create 50 wallets, and they would all suggest that they're different people, when in reality I'm one person. That's a Sybil attack, and it is a common attack vector.
Okay, we'll talk about that later. I should
Yeah.
tease that out.
No, you could. I don't care. All right.
No, what's the advantage of multiple what additional clout or leverage does that give someone if they have multiple wallets?
Well, it's on a couple different fronts. One front would be like, let's say that you're promoting a new project, right? Like Jason, we're gonna call it Jason Coin or Jason DAO, right? So you are just one guy, and you want other people to get into Jason DAO. How do I get other people into Jason DAO? Well, I need to create some interest. Well, I can't do it by myself. But if there were a lot of people already interested in Jason DAO, then maybe other people would like climb on board. So you become 50 people, and you start buying and selling and trading Jason coin, and other people see that traffic and they're like, oh man, Jason coin is hot. Everybody's in that.
See the same thing on Instagram a lot, like fake or multiple accounts but under the same person to generate traffic. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, it has a lot of other vectors, but yeah, that's just like the easy one.
Okay. So I mean, that was more than 5, and more than 5 would be fine, but I do like how it's a sequence of skills that build on the knowledge from the previous one, rather than sort of like disparate independent lessons. You know, anytime you're stacking knowledge and using stuff that you already learned to better understand new material, I like where this is going.
We really should, when you write down those 5, we should hone it down, because what can be easy, since you're looking for 5 and there are really 8,976 different points we could hit. We want to ensure that we're hitting those 5 valuable ones. They're going to be acquiring coins from an exchange, using a smart contract wallet, what is staking, what are other uses of cryptocurrency, and maybe something like participating with DAOs. Like those are that's probably a good 5 that we could do 5 modules with. Or maybe I wouldn't do DAOs, I might do communities, but whatever, same thing.
Okay. Well, or maybe what's the difference? Anytime we combine those 2 into one and just have people be able to differentiate between the characteristics of the 2.
Yeah, and I imagine for each of those, like you would create a module. There would be instructional content, and then some kind of knowledge quiz, maybe an applied exercise, and then people who complete all 5 modules would be eligible for the POAP.
There you go, the award. And my advisor equated that to sort of a gamification type of achievement unlocked award, and which is a very popular and valid incentivization of things. So
I mean, you'll figure it out when you start getting a few POAPs. When you have like 5, then you're like, I need more of these. Like I got to get just one more. Like, how do I get another POAP? It becomes a little like engrossing.
Maybe later this week we can do how can I get my first POAP?
Sure, I like it.
Well, that is pretty good, and you did a pretty good job of shaving it down to 5 essential elements. Maybe in our next chats we can delve into those one at a time and explore them, and I can do a little research in advance and have some questions for you.
I love to crowdsource, so ideally what we would do is take those 5 items, put them in a Google Doc, and share them in a community and say, hey, we were thinking that these are the 5 main points. What do you think? And there's no shame in recognizing that they're, when you take 1,000 brains or even 20 brains and put them on something, that someone will say, well, that's cool, but this is probably better. And you're like, oh, I can't believe I didn't think about that.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. So we could definitely, it helps to involve. So I'm all about breaking down the fourth wall in instruction. That's what we're doing now. We're breaking down the fourth wall. We are engaging directly in things that would normally be behind the scenes before you produce content.
They're seeing how the sausage is being made.
Yes, that allows people to engage more deeply. Like, we're not trying to sell them anything. We're trying to involve them in what we're doing, because we believe that if they understand what we're doing and why we're doing it, then they're going to want to participate with us. And so that's where it gets to like crowdsourcing everything and putting everything up for public review and being like, what do you like about this? What don't you like about it? It's so different than the concept of like you going off and studying and finding 5 things and creating content and saying, here it is. And people are like, I have no personal investment in this. I don't know anything about it.
It deepens the learning, deepens the investment, it deepens the sense of community. I can see several positive aspects of this approach. And frankly, it makes it a little bit easier to learn, which I'm excited about. And rather than feeling that I'm just stuck in a lonely void figuring things out for myself, especially if it puts me in touch with numerous people who are content experts, which is really the kind of people I need to be in the company.
Yeah, I was looking at our comments on the videos. Like, is no shortage of people who have like really valuable opinions. Like this guy Skynet, who is like, these are the things you should hit. And I'm like, oh, he's right. Like, I want to read his comment. Ethereum network is a global trust machine. It's a place where you can form actions that you can trust will work. Exactly. In a world where trust is eroded by and broken by individuals, institutions, companies, governments, entire nation states, Ethereum provides a base level substrate upon which increasingly more complex sets of actions can be performed in a trustful manner. And I'm like, yeah, that is, there are a lot of people who get it. And what we want to do is get past the put $100 in and get rich and get to this is why we're doing it. And sure, put $100 in, no sweat, have fun, but this is not a get rich quick scheme. It's a platform with world changing implications.
Right. A hard fork in the development of, I don't know, finance, of currency, of economics. I don't know what's for it.
And a hard fork is very much like a stop of the old and a beginning of the new. And I'm very eager to point out, yeah, we're not trying to kill traditional finance. We're trying to supplement it with things that work better so that everyone wins.
Noted. What are some other comments that people have put out there?
Ed Zorg says, hello. Superphiz, can you tell me on your thoughts on RWAs and what we might see them evolve this year? I believe RWAs, I think that's a reference to real world assets. And that's something we actually mentioned the other day, like owning your car on chain. That's something that has been attempted several times, but I don't think the platform has yet matured to a point where it has actually taken root. But imagine a future where, let's take the planet and every, we have like GPS, we have coordinates. Every coordinate is known to be owned by an address. And so then you block it off and you can simply look on like a Google Maps browser interface or look on chain and see who owns something rather than having to go to like a centralized resource for that. And that has the potential to put all ownership in a decentralized, maintained central location. So the information is stored in a decentralized way by thousands of computers around the world, but you go to one browser to check where any piece of land in the entire world, like who owns it, when did they buy it, all of the records right there. I really believe that future is coming. I don't know. It's difficult to say like it's going to happen in 5 or 50 years. But I do think like the pace of advancement is increasing quickly. I don't know how. Oh, that was a comment I was reading. Yeah.
Real world assets.
This guy, Rocket Fuel, who I know is Whack Whack Attack, says a great video. Thanks for the shout out. Yeah, Rocket Fuel is a rocket pool daily program. Yeah, and so Whack Whack Attack is not a coder or developer. He is contributing his interest by creating a daily podcast to educate. And literally what his podcast is, he goes to the Rocket Pool trading forum, reads all the comments and summarizes them in a 30-minute podcast. And it ends up being really interesting.
Cool.
So it's, I don't want to say anybody could do it, but anybody who wants to could begin doing it.
Is the language accessible, or is it sort of deep in jargon where a lot of folks wouldn't be able to follow what he's talking about?
No. It's so, and that's the thing about a Discord. A Discord is not complex language. They are literally people hanging out. And so anytime something comes up you don't understand, all you have to do is say, I didn't get that. And you will have 13 people who give like differing levels of explanations. And so when it comes to something like rocket fuel, Whack Whack Attack may say, Jason came in, he's a new user, and he was curious about the rocket pool investment thesis. He had some questions, and these were the questions he had, and this is what people told him. And Zero even stopped in to tell him, this is what I meant when I wrote that. And so it's very much a community learning kind of thing, not a I'm smarter than you, so why didn't you read the manual kind of thing. Which, us growing up, that's what computers were. They were the smart people knew, and they kept that knowledge away from all of the dumb people.
Yeah, gatekeeping, I think, is sort of what it sounds like.
That's a perfect name. And that has really dissolved significantly to the point that even the brightest thought leaders will make time to answer questions, legitimate questions, from people who are essentially no one. If you have a question, no matter how dumb it is, no offense to anyone asking dumb questions, you're going to get a friendly answer these days. And that's really cool.
Well, not only is it smart, but I think it's healthy for the individual and healthy for the community. And it sounds like it's also a good way to maybe take your ego and set it aside a little bit, because a lot of times people that do protect the information to be the purveyor of that information, there's some egotism that's sometimes associated with that. And this sounds like a much healthier approach, at least based on the description.
I definitely believe it. And a lot of it has to do with like people. So let's say that, you're thinking of 3 different cryptocurrencies. You could be thinking of Bitcoin, Ethereum, or I don't like to mention a ton of other ones because they're like just most of them are a mess. Or Cosmos, right? So those are 3 essentially competing ecosystems. Okay. Now, if you come to an Ethereum ecosystem community, if you walk into one and people are hateful to you, are you likely to stay and become a part of that community?
Or go somewhere else, sure.
That's right. You'll go somewhere else. And when you start at the top of CoinGecko and work your way down until you find a community that accepts you, then that's where you're going to put your energy. So it's why it's so important for people who are interested in Ethereum that they welcome people and educate them in a loving way.
Well, you have certainly done well with that in the 4 meetings that we've had and the chats that we've had. And I certainly, as a novitiate, appreciate that, because no one, like you said, wants to walk into the room and be told candidly how stupid they are. And you have at least gone about that in a very polite way and in a nurturing way.
We all started somewhere.
Sure.
I
crawl
honor
before
people,
you walk.
Yeah, I honor people who have the curiosity and initiative to raise their hand and say, I don't know, because they are 1,000 light years ahead of all of the people who see it and dismiss it and say, that's too complicated. That's nothing that's nerdy. Like you have to get past a lot of barriers to get as far as you've come now. And for me, I'm like, now that you've gotten through barriers, let's take some barriers down for you and increase accessibility.
Yeah, and going back to ego, you have to be willing to sort of admit where deficits in understanding are, or admit that there's and as a foreign language teacher, a lot of kids don't learn foreign language because they're not afraid to try to use it because they're going to make a mistake, and the idea of making a mistake is too overwhelming. You gotta be willing to suck a little bit. You gotta be willing to put your first effort out there, and so you can improve from it. And
I really experienced that. I experienced that often myself because I've been doing this a long time. This is like 12 years. I still regard myself as knowing less than 1% of the body of knowledge of Ethereum. And so I'm still on Twitter trying to help people answer questions, and inevitably I will answer something incorrectly. And I have learned to approach that with humility when someone corrects me, and it's like, thank you. Like that's something that I tried to understand. I couldn't wrap my mind around it. I really appreciate people who are more knowledgeable or people who are smarter, like stepping in and saying, hey, this is actually the way that works. And getting to that place where you can say, it's okay for me not to have all the answers, I can still try, is really cool.
Yeah, it's better for you and it's better for everyone. The more people that do understand, that's a stronger community, which goes back to what you want. So I definitely see where you're getting at. Well, on that point, I look forward to going back and reviewing this chat. You hit a lot of strong points, and I really appreciate what lies ahead and being able to use you and other members of the community to put together, hopefully, what might be helpful materials for the new initiative.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how it unfolds.
Me too.
Is the plan that I upload this to Google Drive, you download it, and do some post-production, and then what?
Well, I do have, and then you would want to put it on your channel. So
okay,
we would want to, I upload it to my Google Drive and share it with you. Then
okay, that's perfect.
And then you can do what you want with it.
Yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to post or like if you feel like it's more appropriate for your assets, but I'm happy to post it on my stuff, our stuff.
Well, I just presume that you would like to. I'm happy to do it myself if it saves us a couple of links in the chain. But I think I have the tools necessary to be able to put it together with that little tag. So let's give it a shot. All right.
Awesome.
Look forward to it. Good chat. Until next time.
All right. Bye, Jason.
All right. Later.